Hello everyone, so today I'm going to be bringing the Sandman guide. This is going to be what I run in Campanella Extreme, and I also run the same thing in Campanella Normal. I changed one relic for if I'm doing seasonal, and this is pretty much the setup I use for normal gameplay and speedrunning. First off, to cover the relics, I run a standard kind of setup with a skill build where we've got critical power shield. This is going to be active always as Sandman, as he's got the his own power shield. We've got Mercy, 100% attack power, 100% HP. Easy to maintain as Sandman, his shield will be active always. Convergent energy skill module, 100% skill power, skill build, we want the skill power, and bonus coin. If I was running seasonal, what I would drop here would be convergent energy skill module, and I would replace it with medal of growth for the extra attack power scaling with each planet. Go over drop rates. You're going to see in here from the previous video I still have risk attack backpack. We removed that. We opt to run critical damage to combine with the Crasher shotgun, and skill power to combine with the fact that this is a skill build. We want lots of cooldown. We only have 2 damage abilities, so we want to be able to use them as often as possible. And we want giant strength for more attack power, as well as our typical multipliers and our status-based relics. For our last slot, I would opt to put in extra cooldown reduction, just so we have our Sand Snipe back as often as possible. Going over to his weapons, we opt to start with the Crasher shotgun, and we want to stay with the Crasher shotgun the entire time, only dropping it in favor for a better Crasher shotgun. This means that on some of your runs you might end up having your starting weapon all the way through the run. In the clip that you saw at the start against Protean Beast, that Crasher shotgun was just the basic blue Crasher shotgun that I got that I spawned in at the start of the game with, because I never found a better one. Going over his skills, we opt to run with the petrification duration increase and the defense shred. This is very, very important, and by far his most important skill upgrade. In multiplayer, this is mandatory full stop, as defense shred is insanely powerful, and I cannot understate how important being able to remove the defense of an enemy is. It will, most cases, double your damage. The petrification duration will make it so you can skip phases on bosses by petrifying them at key intervals. You'll notice against Protean Beast at the start of this clip that I didn't actually have to do the fire phase at all, because I timed my petrify with my dash at the start to be at the start of its attack animation, and then was able to CC chain it through its second health bar to prevent it from ever transitioning into that phase. You can do this on pretty much any boss in the game that isn't immune to petrify. Like a good one example would be Arctic Gear. You can perfectly execute on Arctic Gear CC. You just have to wait for certain frames. This is going to take practice, and will be something that I can do a different video going over. I won't be able to cover every single boss, but give examples as well as a explanation on how to do it better. But in terms of damage, this is still your best upgrade to start with. Other things you want to be looking for are other damage upgrades for Sand Snipe. So we want to be getting the 100% skill power and the 100% damage against petrify. Although this gives weapon power, we want it for the multiplier it gives on the 100% damage against petrified, and we want the ×2 Sand Snipes. Last priority would be the cooldown. Although all of these upgrades are pretty much grab on site, you would grab these over everything else. Apart from the cooldown, you would prioritize other upgrades over the cooldown, and those would be your shield upgrades. So if you're doing multiplayer, the grant shield to allies is actually extremely useful, as this will allow them to utilize stuff like critical power shield more frequently, and is actually a tactic that we use in our speedruns a lot, is have everyone start critical power shield, and the Sandman picks this up in the run when he sees it. If you're playing solo though, which this guide is operated towards, you would much rather find stuff like 100% critical damage. You would much rather find things like the effect and duration of power shield. This just means you don't have to press it as often. And that's about it, and the cooldown as well, to help with that same notion of being able to maintain it without having to press it as often. So a thing to know about the power shield from Sandman is when he gives allies the power shield, he only gives them the shield and the weapon power, the base weapon power, the 50%, not the 100% critical damage that he gets in the upgrade, and not the extra 50% weapon power he would gather from this upgrade. It only gives what reads in that tooltip, and the exact value of the health of the shield that you give to your allies is based on the HP of the Sandman. So if the Sandman has 40,000 HP, then the power shield he grants to his allies will be 40,000. This is good to note, because if you're doing a pure supportive build, you can just, you know, get a bunch of cooldown, a bunch of health, and now your team's immortal. But we don't do that. It's not efficient. Don't do it. But yeah, you want the critical damage, you want to get the shield duration, and you want to get the shield cooldown. In multiplayer, grab this as well on side. The other upgrades you want to get are the 100% AoE and duration of your grenades for the 25% damage multiplier it brings as well when enemies are inside them. If you're petrifying bosses, they're likely to be inside. Also, the grenades can hit hard once you get the +2 grenades and the 300% skill power. If you manage to squeeze your hitbox inside of a boss and press grenades whilst they have defense shred active, they're petrified, and you have all your multipliers active and you have a shield up with the critical damage, these grenades sometimes will hit just as hard as your sound snipe. It's kind of crazy. The cooldown's good, but always avoid picking up the petrified target on your grenade, as you want to be pressing your grenade on cooldown as a DPS rotation, and having this petrify things can screw with your durations, as well as the petrify from the grenade isn't actually affected by the petrified duration of your sound snipe. Dash upgrades we don't tend to go for. There's no need for them. Having an extra dash is quite nice, as well as the reload for maintaining your ammo on your crasher shotgun to keep critical power magazine at max. But because of the way that we use our dash at Sandman, we don't want too many of these upgrades. We don't need the 100% critical chance from this perfect dodge upgrade, as if you read on your slow dash anyway, if you perfectly dodge, you get the critical chance anyway, so having an extra 5 seconds on that doesn't matter. And we're using the crasher shotgun, so it becomes null and void anyway. The immunity and the defense is nice. If you're doing something like seasonal, pick this up as well. You can then scale this in with your retaliation suits when you find them. But mostly we just want the cooldown and the extra charge. And the reason that is because when you're dashing as Sandman, you can see this kind of like glow that comes around him. This petrifies enemies when you dash through them. This is really good because of how fast the petrify is, like how fast of an application this is. You can pretty much pinpoint catch boss frames on demand, and this is how you start CC chains. And on a very, very skilled Sandman like Dippets Mackenzie, if you ever see him play the game, or if you ever see clips of him, or in the future, or if like you ever see him on the ANVIL Discord, he is pretty much the best Sandman out there in terms of catching frames, and is the one that we run with in multiplayer settings. But if you get good at this is what separates a good Sandman to a master Sandman player, and getting this down in a speedrun setting is going to save you like minutes off of your time, and I mean minutes. Going over to the toy marker, I opted to run high V2. Again, you're just going to see me run this pretty much all the time, just because I'm too lazy to go farm crons, and because I'm too busy to go farm crons. If I had more crons and more time, I would opt to spam my power dog to the point where I'll have skill power and critical damage on this everywhere. But you can pretty much just get away with having high V2 for the extra attack power when you have your shield active, because you're always going to have a shield active. Damage against bosses is good, critical damage is good. Don't need ignore armor as Sandman, so I didn't use this, but this is also a good option. Hope this has been helpful. Like, comment, subscribe. More guides coming soon. I'm going to be finishing off all the breakers and then slowly updating them in the future if I change anything. See you in the next one.